Shalom. First and foremost, I would go ahead and like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings to the elect of Israel. Okay, today I'm going to do a lesson on fear, okay, because the fear of the Lord is imperative in this walk, man. All right, in this walk, meaning this truth, okay? If you want to walk with Yahweh Bashem Shai, you want to go through that narrow and straight gate, you know, the path to make it to the kingdom, you have to fear, man. All right? All right, I'm going to play a quick clip of Cus D'Amato, all right, Mike Tyson's former trainer. And I'm going to go ahead and play a quick clip because his one of his big philosophies is, you know, being big on fear. And so I was watching it, and I was watching it with spiritual ears and spiritual eyes. And I was saying to myself, you know, if you look at this in a spiritual aspect, you know, what he's saying is so true. Because even in a carnal aspect, what he was saying was true. But if you look at it in a spiritual aspect, what he was saying was very true. So I'm going to go ahead and play the clip. Otto and Ratazah, you know, this video is edifying.
May I mention that? Fear is like fire. If you learn to control it, you can make it work for you. If you let it get out of control, it can destroy you and everything around you. Or like a snowball on a hill. A snowball on a hill, you can pick it up and do whatever you want with it. But let that snowball roll down the hill, it gets so large if you try to stop it at that point, it'll crush you. So fear is like that. We've learned to understand fear. Most people think of fear as something to be ashamed of, something to be really embarrassed about. But I teach these boys that fear is a normal, healthy thing. I often ask them, who is your best friend? Well, they try to name individuals. I tell them, no, your best friend is fear. Nature gave us fear in order to survive. Without fear, we would all die. Just think of how long you would live if you weren't afraid. You'd go out in the street and do something very dangerous and die as a result. Maybe you're in a hurry, you can jump out of the window to get down there quicker, all because you wouldn't be afraid. So nature gave us this fear, and I often give the same example of a deer crossing an open field, and upon approaching the forest, instinct tells him danger is there. And automatically, the desire to live, to survive, comes to play where the adrenal gland injects adrenaline in the bloodstream and enables the body to perform extraordinary feats of agility and strength, where the deer normally would jump 15 or 20 feet. With the adrenaline, the first jump may be 40 or 50 feet, enough to get it away from the immediate danger, and then the natural asset of speed will help them escape and survive. This is a basic way of how fear helps you live, why fear is your best friend. Now, the same thing happens to humans. I'm sure back in the days of the cavemen, where they were dangerous, and I mean, life was dangerous. Maybe they lived in the caves and built a fire or something to keep the animals away. But eventually had to go out into the forest and get food. And that person who was able to go out with the club or whatever else he had, carefully go into that forest to avoid and anticipate all possible dangers, and then manage to get food and help his family survive. And the person who failed in the process naturally died. But eventually it would be those who didn't fail, who were able to teach their children, whoever they had to teach, to do the same and benefit their experience. So the cumulative experience enabled them to face the conditions to help them survive. Well, I believe that this fear is what enabled them to do it, the discipline and the control of this fear. Fear lends sharpness to a person. Fear makes you keen and sharp. Without fear, as I said, the things would happen and be too late for you to do anything about it. I also take these boys to step by step as to how they're going to do what they're going to do eventually. When they come to the gym, after giving them the talk about fear, and I tell them fear is their best friend, that many kids don't even know. I tell them, do you know the difference between being afraid and being yellow, or the difference between a hero and a coward? Well, they give me answers, but
I'm going to go ahead and get some examples of what fear can do for you. Okay, the first example I'm going to go ahead and get is in Exodus chapter 1, starting at verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the other Puah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Verse 17, but the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Then therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. Okay, so the scripture say the Most High dealt well with the midwives. Verse 21, and it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. So basically he exalted them, man. Okay, that's one example. I'm going to go ahead and get another example. I'm going to go to the book of Daniel, and I'm going to start at chapter 3 and verse 16. Daniel chapter 3, starting at verse 16. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship thy golden image which thou hast set up. Right, because that's idolatry. Okay? And a part of fearing the Lord is keeping his commandments. And one of the Lord's main commandments, is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, which really goes into keeping the commandments. But a part of the commandments is to not be serving idol gods, okay? Not committing idolatry. All right? It says, verse 19, then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded them that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heat. So they're heating the furnace very hot, man, It says, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments were cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So that's how hot the fire was, okay? It slew the men that were supposed to put them into the furnace. That's how hot it was. Verse 23, and these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Okay, so that's another example of how fear of the Lord can help you, man. Okay, they feared the Most High. They didn't bow down to Nebuchadnezzar, so therefore the Most High kept them alive. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Verse 28, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their heads singed, neither was their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. So it was basically like they never walked into the fire, because their coats didn't burn, none of their hair burned, they didn't even smell like smoke from the fire. The Lord covered them, man, because they feared in him, they trusted in him. Verse 28, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, okay, who are Israelites. So blessed be the God of Israel, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Okay, so the fear of the Lord, with those two examples, shows you that you can be exalted, man. All right, for just off the fear of the Lord, you know. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, starting at verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Chapter 5, starting at verse 29. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Okay, so this is, talking about our people Israel. If they had a fearing heart towards the Most High, it will be well with us, man, and to our children forever, the scriptures say. Okay, I'm going to get another precept real quick within the next chapter over. Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 2. It says, matter of fact, I'm actually going to start at verse 1. Deuteronomy 6 and 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord Yahweh your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that land being Israel. Verse 2, that thou mightest fear the Lord Yahweh thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's sons, and all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Okay? Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord Yahweh, God of thy fathers, has promised thee in the land that floweth with milk and honey. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, starting at verse 10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Hamashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. Verse 11. Knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto God, and I trust also are made manifest in your consciousness. Okay, so that's the point right there, man. We all have to appear before the judgment seat of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, whether it be good or evil. The Lord is going to reward us according to our works. Okay, so therefore, knowing the terror of the Lord, okay, knowing how terrible the Most High can be, we persuade men. All right, and how do we persuade men? Through fear. Okay, I'm going to get another precept. This is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 27, and starting at verse 3. It says, unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord Yahweh, his house shall soon be overthrown. Okay? So that's the point right there. You have to diligently hold yourself in the fear of the Lord. Chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, but as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. Okay, so King David said in the Lord's fear, meaning he fears the Lord. That's how he's going to worship the Lord in his temple, in the fear of the Lord. Okay, and we need to be coming in that same spirit. All right, I'm going to get another precept. This is Psalms chapter 33, starting at verse 18. It says, behold, the eye of the Lord Yahweh is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy. Okay, verse 19, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Yeah, man. And that comes by you fearing the Lord. And what does it really mean to fear the Lord? Obedience. And what obedience? Obedience to his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right. Let me get another precept real quick. Salakia. Next precept I'm going to get is Psalms chapter 111 or 111 and verse 10. Psalms 111 and verse 10. It says, "The fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever." Okay? So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? How do we get our wisdom? We get our wisdom by keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay? Let me get another precept real quick to substantiate that. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus. This is a quick one. Alright, quick and to the point. Ecclesiasticus chapter 1 and verse 26. "If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her unto thee." Okay, so if you desire the spirit of wisdom, keep the commandments. Alright. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "The fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Okay? So you're a fool if you despise the commandments, man. Okay? Because you basically asking for death. Alright? Let me get this one real quick. Proverbs 8 and 36. "But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul, and all they that hate me love death." Okay? So if you hate wisdom, you love death, man. Because loving wisdom is keeping the commandments, which is basically, life. Not basically, it is life. Okay? Proverbs chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 20. "Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets." How does wisdom utter her voice in the streets? By way of the brothers being on the highways and byways. Verse 21, "She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates in the city, she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge." Verse 23, "Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refuse. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as a desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me." So when all hell breaks loose, man, you're gonna cry to the Most High, and He's not gonna answer you, man. He's gonna hide His face from you because you didn't choose to fear Him. Okay, I'll keep reading. Verse 29, Proverbs 1 and 29. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord Yahweh. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. Okay? So if you hearken unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, you fear Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, you're going to dwell safely, man. Alright? That's the point on that. Let me go ahead and get some more precepts. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 147, starting at verse 11. "The Lord Yahweh taketh pleasure in them that fear Him, in those that hope in His mercy." Okay? So He takes pleasures in them that fear Him and hope in His mercy, man. Alright? He doesn't take pleasure in those who don't fear Him. If anything, that's a displeasure to Him. Okay? This is Sirach chapter 2, and I'll start at verse 15. They that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep all his ways. Okay, so if you fear the Lord, you're gonna be obedient unto him. Verse 16. They that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him will be filled with the law. Just like Ecclesiastes 1 and 26, or Sirach 1 and 26. Verse 17. They that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight. How do you prepare your heart and humble your soul in his sight? By way of taking heed unto him, man. Being obedient. Alright? Saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men, for as his majesty, so is his mercy. Khan. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get more precepts. Give me one moment. This is Proverbs chapter 9, starting at verse 10. Proverbs 9 and 10. It says, the fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. So, what's so special about that? You know, verse 11. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. Alright, so that's what's so special about fearing the Lord, man. Your days being multiplied, and the years of your life being increased. Okay, and that's not limited to what's so special about it. You know, it also gains the Lord's love, you know, his compassion for you, man. Let me get another precept. This is Proverbs chapter 19. Proverbs chapter 19, starting at verse 23. The fear of the Lord Yahweh tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide Slakia. I'm reading it again. Proverbs 19:23. The fear of the Lord Yahweh tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied, and shall not be visited with evil. Woo! So when you fear the Lord, it tends to life, okay? And you will abide satisfied, man. And you won't be afraid of evil, you know? Evil from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because if you don't fear him, he's going to send evils among you. Okay? And actually, I'll prove that real quick. Proverbs 17, verse 11. An evil man seeketh only rebellion. Therefore, a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. When you go into that word messenger, all right, well, really, the word angel means messenger. So the Lord is going to send demons on you, man. Because demons are angels as well. I'll get another precept backing that up. I'm going to go to the book of Psalms, chapter 78. Psalms chapter 78 and verse 49. Salakia. Psalm 78 and verse 49. It says, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. Okay? Those evil angels talking about demons. Let me get another one. Let me get one more real quick. And I'm going to go to the book of Ecclesiastes, or Sirach, chapter 39, starting at verse 25. For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, the blood of the grape, oil, and oil and clothing. Verse 27. All these are for good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. Okay? Verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made him. Fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. All right? That's the point right there, man. Okay, so the Lord could send demons on you, if you're not fearing him. Okay? He's going to make you respect him and fear him one way or another, man. All right? Let me get this precept real quick. This is to bounce off of Proverbs 19:23. I'm going to go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, starting at verse 5, and then I'm going to skip around. Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, starting at verse 5. It says, Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Okay? I'm going to skip down to verse 11. It says, Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. So just because you're not being judged immediately, a lot of you are set to do evil. Verse 12. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him. Verse 13, but it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before God. Okay? So it won't be well to the wicked, man. The Lord is going to make y'all pay for whatever, man. Whatever, the Lord sees fit for you to pay for, you're going to pay for it, because you didn't fear him. So that's why it was so heavy when Cus D'Amato said, fear is our best friend. And fear helps us to survive. Okay? Because if you don't fear Yahweh Bashem El Shai, you're going to die. The Lord is going to kill you, man. Okay? Ultimately, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 33, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth the Lord, but in temptation, even again, he will deliver him. Okay? That's the point right there, man. I'm going to get some more precepts, and then I think I'll close out. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 1. I'll start at verse 8. It says, There is one wise and greatly to be feared, the Lord sitting upon his throne. That's the person who you should be fearing, man. All right, there is one wise and greatly to be feared. Verse 9. He created her and saw her and numbered her and poured her out upon all his works. This her is talking about wisdom. All right. She is with all flesh according to his gift, and he hath given her to them that love him. So if you love Yahweh Bashem El Shai, then he'll give you wisdom. Okay. And the thing about it is, Yahweh Bashem El Shai doesn't love you if you don't love him. Okay. Let me get this real quick. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, and verse 28. It says, For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. And like I read earlier, the way you get wisdom is by keeping the commandments. So if you're not keeping the commandments, the Lord ain't loving you, man. Okay? This is Slakia. I'm going to go ahead and get this real quick. This is the book of John, chapter 14. I'll start at verse 15. John 14, starting at verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments. Okay? Now I'll skip down. It says, verse 21. John 14:21. He that hath my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me. And he that loveth me shall be loved of my Father. And I will love him, and will manifest myself to him. Okay? I'm going to skip down to verse 23. Yahushua answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him. And we will come unto him, and make our abode with him. He that loveth me not, keepeth not my sayings, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father which sent me. Okay, so Yahushua is speaking the Most High's words. That's the point on that. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 11. The fear of the Lord is honor and glory and gladness and a crown of rejoicing. Verse 12, the fear of the Lord maketh a merry heart and giveth joy and gladness and a long life. You know, all this stuff comes with the fear of the Lord, man. Verse 13, whoso feareth the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb. Okay? She hath built an everlasting foundation with men, and she shall continue with their seed. To fear the Lord is fullness of wisdom, and filleth men with her fruits. She filleth all their house with things desirable, and the garners with her increase. The fear of the Lord is a crown of wisdom, making peace and perfect health to flourish, both which are the gifts of God, and it enlargeth their rejoicing that love him. Wisdom raineth down skill and knowledge of understanding, and exalteth them to honor that hold her fast. The root of wisdom is to fear the Lord, and the branches thereof are long life. So if you want to find wisdom, you got to fear the Lord, and with that, it tends to long life. Verse 21, the fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath. Because what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. Okay? And the wages of sin is death. So how do we not die? Keep the commandments. Okay? That's the point on that right there. I'm going to go ahead and get another precept. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 19. And I'll start at verse 18. The fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtaineth his love. Okay? He that if you don't dwell with wisdom, the Lord doesn't love you, man. Okay? I read that earlier. Wisdom of Solomon 7:28. Verse 19. The knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. And fearing him is pleasing unto him. Okay? The fear of the Lord is all wisdom, and in all wisdom is the performance of the law, and the knowledge of his omnipotency. Man. If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her unto thee. So that's the point on that. I'm going to skip down to verse 24. He that hath small understanding and feareth God is better than one that hath much wisdom and transgresseth the law of the Most High. Exactly, man. So it's better to fear the Lord and have little understanding than to have a lot of understanding and to transgress the commandments. Okay? The Lord is looking for them who fear him. That's what he's looking for those who fear him, because if you fear him, you will obey him. All right? Sirach chapter 25, starting at verse 10. Oh, how great is he that findeth wisdom, yet there is none above him that feareth the Lord. Verse 11. But the love of the Lord passeth all things for illumination. He that holdeth it, whereto shall he be likened? Verse 12. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Okay? So that's the point right there. All right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. Just like that Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 and verse 28. I'm going to get it again because, it just keeps popping up. So I'm going to get it. This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 and verse 28. It says, for God loveth none. Matter of fact, I'll start at verse 27. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 starting at verse 27. And being but one, she can do all things. Talking about wisdom. And remaining in herself, she maketh all things new. And in all ages entering holy souls, she maketh them friends of God and prophets. Okay? So when you have wisdom with you, you're a friend of God, and you can be a prophet. Verse 28. For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. Okay? So the Most High don't love you unless you dwell with wisdom, man. And how do you dwell with wisdom? By fear. Okay? So that's the point. That's the point on that. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and close out with this. This is the book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28. Job 28 and 28. And unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. All right. So I want to go ahead and say, Kol Halayim La Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of a great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessing to the elect of Israel. Shalom.